Hello, and welcome to the Stacking Dingers Show. I'm your host, Matthew, aka Sheep, aka Dark Sheep. Find me online at D4RKSH33P underscore. This is Stacking Dingers Show, your home for all things Underdog and DraftKings MLB Best Ball. In this week's episode, we will try to catch up all of you that may not have been tuning into the MLB landscape and changes and news and all that since the Dodgers lofted the World Series trophy. We'll try to hit everything to catch you up while you were, playing fantasy football and that kind of boring stuff. But we have a couple guests here. Well, I mean, we have Billy Jones, not a guest, co-host. Billy, you can find him at SportsVizBJ. And our special guest this week is KC Bubba, host of Benched with Bubba, Bubba and the Bloom. I got contributor to Fantasy Pros, the Baseball Forecaster, the Baseball Fantasy Black Book, and probably some other stuff. And you can find him online at BD Entrick. And what did I miss, Casey or Casey Bubba?
I think you're good. I cut back on things, so I think you nailed the important stuff at least. So, yeah, if you can't find me, then it's probably fair. But you also weren't looking hard enough.
You've probably blocked him, and then if you haven't seen him somewhere in fantasy baseball things,
pretty much.
Which you shouldn't do that. Take him off block. Well, maybe he said something about your favorite player. I don't know, but
very possible.
Before we get into it, just want to remind everyone this year that we have opened up the YouTube memberships. We have two tiers, a $2.99 and a $5.99 tier. Again, just to run through it quick because it's new and get you guys interested. It's basically just to support us running the show and offset our costs of StreamYard and tech and stuff like that. And, invest. Everything's going to go back into the show, anything above that. So we appreciate you doing that. And with that, you will get access to a private Discord channel that couple of people have already joined. We have a couple of members, more than have already joined the Discord. So go to this video link or the video description and get the link to that Discord if you've already joined as a member. I do need to shout out. We already have some of the second tier, and we said we'd give them shout outs. So that's Super Stackers tier. We already have a couple of awesome people. Mike Brown, aka H3 Buddha. Maybe you know him from the DFS streets and the fighting side of things, MMA. So thanks to him. JNeb 10 or 170. Unfortunately, sorry, I don't know who you are, but thank you. I know you're in the Discord, so shout out to you too, and jump in there and start posting your teams and stuff. And then, but I know I was introduced to this guy through Bubba, Spencer Thurman, who is joined us on some shows and will be joining us again this year. And you can see him on some of Bubba's shows too. He's awesome. So thanks to him. And finally, Saints to Death, who has been a long time commentator and supporter of the show. So thank you, everybody there. One more item of news before we get rolling on the baseball news is that starting tomorrow, we will be having, usually our Substack for at stackingdingers.com is just this kind of show pushed out to you right to your email. But starting tomorrow, we're going to have written articles written by Paul. So he's going to look at some initial potential risers and fallers in ADP, and for sure be looking at ADP changes throughout the season in a written format. So awesome. Thanks to him for jumping in and volunteering to do that. So that's the news and notes on Stacking Dingers show. Let's get into the actual baseball news. Two quick things I wanted to hit on. I guess one topic is the stadiums. Next year we saw, Bubba, we saw two teams playing minor league parks, and we saw that have a pretty big effect on their offenses.
Yeah, we got the A's. That's not changing. Sutter Health Park. It's going to be a bandbox once again. Ball will fly far in the summertime. But as you mentioned in the outline, the Trop has a roof. It's back. That was a big deal like 2 weeks ago. So they're fixing up that joint, and we won't be at Steinbrenner Field anymore. We'll be back in the Trop now. Yes, it's much more of a pitcher's ballpark than we saw at the Single A facility. I am curious because one of the big complaints is always the batter's eye at the Trop. I'm like, just because the Trop's back, does it not mean they might not change that? Like, I'm curious how that, like, the ball's still not going to fly like it did in Steinbrenner Field, but the extent of it being a pitcher's park, I'm still curious on. So that's my 2 cents on that.
That's interesting because like there's this complaint that they have, and they're doing a bunch of construction. Why don't they just fix that one?
Yep.
It would be interesting if they do it. I'm really curious. Like I think the A's staying in Sacramento, especially for best ball, is like really interesting. You're going to see 13, 14 run games out of those teams playing there as well as the A's themselves. Just so they're also like a fun roster. So I think that that's like hugely important for our game that we're playing.
Yeah, I think more so for the Trop, it's the pitching side of things, and I don't even know who we trust this year. That's a whole nother discussion on the Rays.
Most don't go 6 innings, so that's a problem.
Right. Yeah, but it's kind of been shown that the indoor the indoor nature of that is good for like stuff, and the actual pitch shaping is much better indoors, not just the fact that there's no weather. The pitch shape is good. Let's see, in terms of trades so far, and again, we are recording this on Tuesday of the week, and the show will be out later this week, so I'm sure we're going to miss some stuff while the winter meetings are happening here, but we're just going to hit what we know so far. The big, I guess, quote unquote big trade is Taylor Ward, who right now is an outfielder. Well, he's always been an outfielder on Underdog, and he's ADP of 70, goes to the Orioles in exchange, just a 1-to-1 swap for Grayson Rodriguez, who right now currently has an ADP of 232. And as one of the biggest Grayson Rodriguez fans the last few years on this, on Underdog at least, I drafted so much. It's scary. I guess that's what I'm. If the Angels are trading for 3 years of control of a young pitcher for just a power hitting Taylor Ward, Billy, that scares me. Like, what does that mean for the health of Grayson Rodriguez, and what did the Orioles think about him that they were willing to part with him for that?
Well, I think start off the top. Like I don't know if we have much trust in the Angels with pitching, right? Like that's not they're not noted with that. So that's kind of scary in general with a player that seemingly can't stay on the field. And we would hope that some smart mind would come in and kind of try to tinker with something that could hopefully fix that. I am curious if they're trying to punt for the future. I did hear that they may not even have done physicals or something like that before they even acquired the asset, which sounds negligent, honestly, if we're talking about a player like that. So it's curious. I think it's also curious from the Orioles side too, because now that what was already a crowded lineup, it gets more crowded. So I don't. It's kind of I'm curious what their plans are.
Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. It's with Grayson, I was with you. I was like, this is complete negligence. And apparently we find out later that they don't have to go through a physical to go through trades anymore. It's only like the NBA and the NFL, so leave it to baseball to still be in the Stone Age. But the fact that Orioles are willing to do so makes you wonder what's going on there. So I'm just out on him until we find any more news. I just won't even take the chance. But to your point, Billy, the Ward thing, I love Taylor Ward. I think he's great. People first will point to the ballpark. Yes, Anaheim was, I think it was top 5 or 6 in for right-handed power this past year. The Orioles is still only 13th or 14th, so it's still top half. It's not like it's as dreadful as people think because they did move the walls in a little bit. But the bigger concern, to your point, is we looked from a full stacking perspective in Baltimore. How does this work out now? Because now you got Tyler O'Neill, who's basically turns into a potential platoon DH, which is fine because we don't expect him to play much anyways. But now he's platooning at DH. You got Basayo, Adley, that mix going on there. Jeremiah Jackson's kind of out. There's a lot of moving pieces in Baltimore now that it's not as easy as a stack outside of your Holidays, your Hendersons, and maybe even your Westbergs. Your outfield's a lot of moving pieces there to mix and match, which could be a good thing because it could make value come stacking, but it's also could be rough for consistency purposes, even though Ward should play every day, you'd think.
You'd think, yeah. To me, I'm sort of you kind of mentioned it there. The Tyler O'Neill not going to play much like it's gotten worse. Like his playing time and his health has somehow gotten worse, and I think part of the Taylor Ward trade was them like not just saying what they thought about Grayson, but also saying what they thought about the ability of Tyler O'Neill to continue to stay on the field. I think that the similar types of player that they are, and the role that they can play. So the ADP of 70 is tough, and I've Grayson Rodriguez at 232. I might dabble a little, but I think at the price, it's going to go up if we get good news, and it's going to drop off if we get bad news. So you're kind of taking your own risk. But the other trade that I think I am in on is Sonny Gray to Boston. There was a bunch of other players in the deal, but that's the only one really relevant to our underdog game for best ball. He's currently at an ADP of 100 when I put the sheet together. And I think just the downside for Sonny Gray has always been, is his body going to keep up? And I think he is getting older, but to me, he's put up some really consistent seasons the last few years that I'm happy to go there. And it's, you said it's not a terrible park for hitters, but it's still not the best park, and it's not, that much of a downgrade from pitching in St. Louis that I don't really put any change on that. Bubba, do you have any worries about him in Boston?
No, I'm a huge Sonny Gray fan. The only worry is his age, to your point. Underlying metrics have always been good. The defense is a little worse in Boston than St. Louis, but I still think Sonny Gray is such a really good pitcher. But he's a ground ball guy, so that's something to think about. But where you're drafting him at, he's such a strikeout machine. Like I'm a huge fan of what we see there, and we won't talk about it tonight. But just keep an eye on St. Louis, folks. There might be a lot of late round draft capital coming their way as they keep selling people when it comes to underdog. Like there might be some darts you might be willing to throw, at least on the hitting side of things. So just keep them in mind.
Okay, interesting. I don't know too much. We've seen I feel like we've seen the guys come up and not like, the Victor Scotts and we'll say Jordan Walker in here. That's a whole another conversation. But I'd be interested to know just offhand if there's some other guys that you're thinking beyond the guys that have already debuted.
Yeah, like I obviously haven't looked at the ADP a ton for this, but just guys that are already higher up in ADP. But I actually in this format's way better than in a regular standard is Ivan Herrera. No matter if he's catcher or util, is freaking awesome. But the guy I really want to make sure I get his name correctly before I screw this up. But he is an outfielder. Well, first off, at shortstop, JJ Weatherholt might start the season with the team, especially if like Arenado gets moved, they might move him to third base. That's a great name because everyone talks about McConaughey and company at shortstop, Connor Griffin. Weatherholt's very good. So that's one to keep in mind. And then outfield-wise, Joshua Baez is a monster.
Okay.
So I'd say it's just darts late in drafts, but it seems like the Cardinals are moving towards let's just see what the kids got and let's like trade. Their trade is anybody with legs right now. It feels like they Wilson Contreras even said he might open his no trade clause. So if you deal Wilson and Arenado and Brendan Donovan, like somebody's got to play. And it's just like there's your chances late in drafts. And again, they're dart throws, and they're dart throws that you never know could pay off.
Good plan. And we do have plans this year on doing a little bit more prospect and rookie coverage. So those names might come up a little bit more as we get some guys in here to help us with that. Because I think I may have already said it, but we're trying not to miss out on the Nick Kurtz like we did last year. Those kind of guys. I did have one other small, tiny trade I wanted to hit on. Probably not relevant, but because the Pirates roster is pretty open and this player does have an outfield designation, it's Joe Stinson Garcia. Bubba prepped me on it, how to say it, and I wrote it down, and he wrote it down. But yeah, the password, as he's called, because of all the letters in his name. He is currently ADP 239.6, so basically undrafted. But he's an outfielder who is a young guy and has plenty of opportunity in the Pirates. And I the Pirates were supposedly in on Kyle Schwarber, I think. And, I don't know what they're actually going to do. They say they're buying, but there's definitely an option of he gets a bunch of at-bats in outfield. And I don't know the how good those at-bats are going to be, but something to keep in mind. I wanted to make sure we mentioned him. He was traded for Johan Oviedo, who I didn't hate as a SP2 on DraftKings at a cheap price last year.
Yes,
because he did have some nice strikeout games, but in Boston, they said he's going to be going to the bullpen, so that's not too relevant. So I just wanted to mention that. And then we have two major, I'd say major free agent signings. The first one that happened first, Dylan Cease to Toronto, ADP 62.9. Bubba, I know you are a Cease guy, and we obviously had the fun conversation when he was traded. All the people that didn't understand baseball talking about his ERA, but just put that to bed. We don't care. Well, especially in this format, we don't.
In this format, it's even better. Yes.
Yeah. What his ERA is, or in his WHIP.
Yeah, no, Cease is a beast. Like, this is awesome. He's going to the AL champions, a team that's actually spending to keep competing. If you want to say the AL East is tricky, well, so is the NL West. If you start looking at certain teams, Cease is always a guy who's either going to blow your ratios up or he's going to be a Cy Young. Regardless, he's going to strike out 1 million bats, which is phenomenal in this format. So I love Dylan Cease, and I especially like the intrigue of last offseason. He was working with Gossman on learning how to throw a splitter, and he flat out, that was like the thing they said when he signed, that he's treating these 7 years of seeing how he can become an even better pitcher. And if you look at that team, you got Savage, you got Bieber, and you got Gossman, who all throw a splitter. Like, if you throw that into Cease's repertoire, not saying it's a great thing, but it could be a great thing. So yeah, I love Dylan Cease.
Yeah, his this in this format where you can throw out his really bad games and just not play him that week, and it just automatically does that for you. Yeah. Cease's ceiling is just immense, and with a team that's going to support him with potentially a ton of wins, it's just a really great spot this year. I also love anytime a pitcher gets signed in free agency, because it kind of blew my mind that you said that they don't have to go through physicals, but I just always assume that they go through physicals, and that means they're healthy.
For a signing, I think they have to. I found out for a trade they don't have to, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, that's crazy. But so I've had this thesis that like newly signed players are healthy, so therefore I have some comfort there. And he also does just like rack up innings year after year after year, and so. I think it's a great landing spot for him, and then a great landing spot for our game as well.
Yeah, we've seen this profile go from bad to good in Blake Snell in this game, and specifically underdog format. Like, we've seen the really great Blake Snell year, and like you said, Billy, Dylan Cease has the innings to back it up that Snell doesn't necessarily have, like, long term over his career. So yeah, there was another minor signing in Toronto, the KBO MVP Cody Ponce, who maybe I didn't even saying his name wrong also, but we'll work on names.
It's definitely Ponce, right?
Ponce, okay,
it's Ponce,
right?
Yeah,
it's Ponce. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, but he also signed as a starter in Toronto. He's not in the player pool now for the bullpen, but I do want to shout him out in when he gets added when we get into Dinger. We can't necessarily forget, because he made some really good changes over in the KBO and is likely the 5th starter there. And with Shane Bieber ahead of him, who knows, health related things could definitely pop up there. So I just want to mention him. But the news today, Billy, Kyle Schwarber, ADP 7.4, outfield, even though he's the DH, he's an outfield eligible and underdog. Back with the Phillies. I mean, pretty much. I mean, I think he was going to go, Billy, where he was going no matter where he went, but I think the Phillies cements it.
Oh yeah, it's a great landing spot, great lineup for him. I had just started some slows, but I hadn't done any of like the fast drafts and since like the first one I did. Him being 7 like blows my mind. I didn't know he snapped up that quickly. He was in the second round, and I was like, awesome. But so him being at 7, like that's interesting. I think he gets the respect now that he's been needed over the years, just because he may not have been a sexy pick comparatively to some of the other names there, but he just on base all the time and then hits for thunder. So yeah, as you said, Schwarber wasn't going to have a bad landing spot for what we thought was going to be happen. Maybe the Pirates. I don't know if that was like an offense, but it didn't happen, so we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I agree. There's not a lot to add there. Schwarber's a beast. Goes home. Like there's the Pirates. I'll give them credit. They actually offered him the same AAV, just one fewer year. So the jokes are that they're interested in everybody, but every time we see an offer, it's like nothing. They are at least in on this one. I'll give them that much.
Yeah, I saw that, and obviously he would probably need more AAV to go to the Pirates if we're being logical about the offer, but the same amount per year is interesting.
Yeah, that's an offer that you're like, we did it. We didn't expect him to take it, but you guys can't be mad at us. We tried. We didn't really try, but we tried.
If you're a Pirates fan, you're probably expecting to see like 2 years, $45 million or something out there. It's like, okay, well, like, look at maybe there's a chance we'll sign Paul Skeens someday. Maybe, slightly, hopefully.
All right. Other signing, Cedric Mullins, who is a guy that had been drafted in previous years, even as a platoon bat on the Orioles. Kind of had a downfall there, lost playing time. He's signed to Tampa. He's currently at an ADP of 220. Wanted to mention him. Tampa's a team that platoons a lot, Bubba, so I don't know where he fits into that roster. Do you have a general idea of that?
Right now, he's projected to hit middle of the order and be the starting center fielder. Like I could see him platooning with Johnny DeLuca potentially if DeLuca's healthy. But like you mentioned, his ADP is like around 220 or something. I still think that's really good. If you're looking at a late guy that's going to be a primary platoon, that even when Cedric hasn't been at his best, he's like a 15-15 guy with 20-20 upside. Like we're just talking counting stats on a week where they could throw out your bad weeks or take your good weeks. Like he could be one of those last outfielders you take that are pretty enticing.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to mention him, just because if he was an infielder, we wouldn't need to worry about it, but outfield potential. 2 guys we probably don't need to worry about that I fit kind of into a still young category that have signed some small 1-year deals. Alek Manoah to the Angels and Mike Soroka to Arizona. Both of them don't have any ADP, but they sign both places. I mean, potential starters. I mean, Arizona's depth is a little bit deeper than the Angels for sure, but 2 guys I need to mention because they both have had good seasons and they're still relatively young. I personally don't want to take any of them, but I get why somebody would take a shot still.
Yeah, Soroka I could take a late dart on if you feel like it, but I'm probably out on both. Soroka's at least his deal has incentives to start, so I could see the D-backs going that way as they likely lose Gallen and maybe trade someone else.
Yeah, and obviously we already talked about the Angels and what they're not known for pitching. So a guy who has pitching issues going to a team that's not great at developing pitchers. So it's not great, but
wrong?
Correct. So that is the deals that have come through so far, trades and signings. Next up, we are going to hit free agents out there on the market. We're going to start top of the ADP. Kyle Tucker is at 12. We've had 2 seasons in a row, Billy, of Kyle Tucker injury issues. One being the shin contusion that turned out to be a bone bruise. That we know that whole story about him. The injury reporting in Houston, that's not really relevant so much as then he followed it up with another year in Chicago where he did not he had other issues keeping healthy. Right now, he's being taken as if he is the Kyle Tucker of previous to those seasons in Houston. So, any thoughts on that?
I don't know what to do with them. I feel like this is a person I need to hear that knows more baseball than I about like is like he's still always been a good player, right? Like that's never been in question. It's just staying on the field, and I'm not sure if injury luck is like something you can truly predict. So like I think like the logical person in me says let's still invest in him and like just let the injury play out, but I don't know. I think with all of these players, I'm really interested in like where are they if they land there, who gets nuked, like gets completely ruined, and their playing time's out the window. Especially with some of these premium guys coming up. So I'd love to hear what Bubba has on like where Tucker could land and who's in trouble if that happens.
Yeah, Tucker's rumored for a lot of places, unfortunately, which makes sense. I think even like Baltimore was recently mixed in there, which is funny, all things considered. We just talked to them. He could help a lot of teams out because, like you mentioned it, Billy, it's frustrating with the injuries, but he still had 22-25 last year. He almost had 100 runs still in 136 games. And the one thing that, like, yeah, the two back-to-back seasons of injuries are frustrating, but it was a broken foot and a broken hand. Like, so they're bone injuries. It's not like it's soft tissue. So it's kind of like I'm trying to paint the positive picture here because I understand I'm with you a lot of, but I was fully in on Kyle Tucker the last 2 years, and I'm very tepid this year. I don't think there's a landing spot that hurts him. Like maybe he loses a little power, but this is a guy I've always said is a 30-30 dude, and like a full season on the right team could go a long way for Kyle Tucker. To your point, he will ruin someone's potential starting gig when he shows up. But I if you liked him before, I would try to roll with it again because I think his price tag at best goes up. I don't think it changes much downwise.
All right. Then after that, we have at ADP 31 infielder Pete Alonso. I think I saw some news today that the Mets didn't like the amount of year that he wanted 3 years again, and I don't know. He just keeps going back out there and hitting bombs, and I think he's also landing proof. Like he's going to get first base role wherever he goes, and it should be on a good team or at least one that's paying money. So and generally that's a good team. So I still don't see why he doesn't end up back at the Mets. But I'm fine taking him. It's just more for me again. It's still an early-ish infielder that I don't know if I'm taking him over outfielders for the format, but I will, I have no reservations about Pete Alonso. Anybody have any reservations?
I got no concerns. It's just a matter someone's got to pay the man his money.
Yeah. Next up, Cody Bellinger at ADP 47.3, outfielder, and I've grabbed him on some Mets. I started a Mets stack and I grabbed him. I started a Yankee stack. I grabbed him. It doesn't sound like he's going back to the Yankees. The Yankees are kind of, at least at the winter meetings, claiming to be poor / saying they're happy with their roster already. So Billy, Cody Bellinger, kind of a resurgent Cody Bellinger. Are you in on him?
I think that this is a player where like ballpark's going to matter. Like him and I don't know why he would be reluctant to go back to the Yankees. It's like the perfect stadium for just kind of like weak fly balls to the pull side. Right? Like,
I think it's the Yankees are reluctant.
Yeah,
Grisham screwed it up.
Fair. So I think that this is skeptical. I mean, as much as like an outfielder is valuable in this format, we've seen Cody Bellinger be not as good in a less friendly environment. So definitely nervous with him being so like highly ranked right now.
Yeah, I agree with Billy. He's a big ballpark guy. Like you look at his stats, they've been great, but the skills, like he's a big pull guy. His like quality of contact is a little lower than you'd expect for a guy that's showcased his power. Yeah, he can make it work in a lot of ballparks, but to the extent he has recently, I think the ballpark's going to be big, as Billy mentioned.
Okay. Pour a little cold water on me, but that's fine.
Hey, could be wrong. It's the beauty of fantasy, man.
I was in on Michael Toglia last year. Like, you don't have to listen to what I say.
Oh, that's Titanic type water.
I was waiting for you to mention it. I was going to bring it up this year until you mentioned it, but now the
second show of the season, we already got the Toglia out there.
It's out there. We're going to be reminding you of that.
Well, hold up. I decided it was him and Cal Raleigh, and one was going to be 20% and one was going to be 40%. I just was wrong on which one. I was still way over.
Oh, nice.
All right. Infielder Alex Bregman, ADP 69.2. Another name, Bubba, that I've seen attributed to a lot of teams. Do you have a lean where he lands? I think, to me, also not really dependent on where he goes. More so the lineup around him. If he goes to Detroit, one of the rumors. I don't know that I love that lineup, but yeah. Did you have a lean where he's going?
I honestly don't know. I know Boston's interested. Detroit was interested last year before this took place. There'll be a lot of teams that like him because he's just a veteran, consistent. Like, you look at his stat line, it's the same every year, almost every year. But yeah, obviously certain teams will favor him more than others. I think he's really good for this format, though, just because he'll accumulate between his hits, his runs batted in. Like, he'll be like that Steven Kwan type we've talked about in the past, where it's just a consistent stat line every week. He might have a couple like spike weeks, but as a whole, he's going to give you that roster filler, which will be good no matter where he lands.
Okay. Billy, anything before we move on?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I do think that it is like a significant downgrade from a park, though. If like Boston.
True.
Oh yeah, going to Detroit's going to not help at all. Yeah.
True. Good call. Next person on the list, Eugenio Suarez, 86.7, a guy who definitely matters where he goes. Although he was a good contributor in Seattle in there after he traded, that's not the place we want right-handed power. To me, makes sense to go back there too. Billy, are you tepid on him, or are you just hoping for one of these big power outlet kind of type of seasons?
I mean, I think it's tough to bet against him. Like, the last several years, I feel like we're like, he's a little older, but he's a good hitter. Like, and you just kind of just run him back out there. He's also in a range of infield that's nice to like get back into, and kind of that 80s to 90s range. So, and someone I've been kind of looking at. So with this next name, I don't know where he's going.
Okay. Yeah. Right next to him at 91, Bubba, is Bo Bichette. Straight up, same price. Which guy do you like more? And then, follow that up with what you think Bo Bichette is relative to, the changes and improvements he made last season.
Yeah, Bo Bichette's a tough one. He had that big knee injury. We saw him come back in the playoffs eventually. I think it's the whole we talk about on the underdog best ball format. Like, what are you going for? Like, Suarez is let's peak. Let's see if we can get a 35 to 40 home run guy that's going to have those massive spike weeks. Where Bichette hits for such a great average. It's another accumulation thing. Landing spot will have an impact, of course, because I don't think he's going back to Toronto. I feel like it's elsewhere for Bo Bichette right now, and that could impact things that you would imagine. It's a good team. Still, he's older. He's supposed to maybe like the Braves have been linked. That would be awesome. That would be a really good one.
I would draft that so much.
Yes. No, he'd be a great one to pick. Like, Suarez is just tough because we know like he's getting older. The fall's going to be hard someday when it happens, and we don't know where he's going. So I'd probably take Bichette because there's a reason Sheep and I have talked many times about I'm probably not the best at these bets. I love drafting them. I can win some money, but to win them all, the risk reward factor I am not great at doing.
Yeah, you talk about the fall off, and a guy further down this list, I just jumped to, and when you talk about the fall off Eugenio Suarez, is Adolis Garcia, who's going at 177 this year, and he's a guy that's exactly what we said about him for years. Like, he's an older guy, his power streaks are great, but then we see these bad streaks, and when does the age catch up? And I guess jump to him since I mentioned him. Just getting like thrown off the Rangers basically kind of is not a great sign, but he's still going, I mean, fairly early for someone who fell off that hard. Billy, are you considering Adolis Garcia at all?
I mean, pick 177 is not that early, but he's definitely in the 100% drafted range, which is interesting for someone. I think he's like realistically a platoon, right? That's the role that he's going to be picked up for this year in the right-handed side of the platoon. So the less voluminous. So how my concerns? I'm probably not someone I'm targeting. If I'm drafting outfielders that late anyways, I've kind of walked myself into a bad draft.
Yeah, we don't know where he's playing. It's likely the short side of a platoon. Lots of questions. Obviously, things can change, but the fall's like, I'd rather wait 50 more picks and take Cedric Mullins, who might have the same stat line, but much, much later. At least I feel better about his playing time, which tells you everything you need to know about my initial Adolis Garcia thoughts.
Yeah. Okay. I guess it ties back, jumping back to Marcell Ozuna too, who's at 105 ADP. Another guy who, well, I mean, at one point was basically written off. Everybody was trying to get him off the Braves team because he was doing so bad, and then just had some like lights out power seasons in 23 and 24, and then he didn't do terrible, but he definitely fell back. Without a team now, he's had some off-field issues. He likely ends up on a team, right, Bubba?
Yeah, he's going to be on a team, that's for sure. The Braves actually said they're out on him. They want to have a fluid DH role, and that's the biggest concern I have. Is a lot more teams are going to that, where it's like they use it as the day off, like the Dodgers do, and you see a lot more teams going that route. Where I don't know if a lot of teams want to have a standard, just hey, this is our dude for 145, 150 games. He'll be on a team somewhere. To your point, like I just don't know how well that's going to pan out when it comes to fantasy, like what I can trust, especially at that ADP.
Next up, though, we do have a pitcher, Michael King. He's going at 140 basically. It's been we've never seen a consistent output of innings, Billy. I don't know. I'm out. Do you have anything on him, on Michael King, that interests you?
I don't know. I think that, like, in general, I like pitching later. So, like, he's a late pitcher that we had drafted highly previously. So, I'm definitely not out. Do we think that the volume is like truly a problem for him, or is it just that like last year was a problem? Because I think that going into last year, the expectation was that he could run with the big boys essentially, or was in the second/third tier of pitchers. So
yeah,
I'm curious.
In 24, he had 173 innings, 23, 104, and 22. He was mostly a reliever with only 51, and before that, 68 in 2021 as a starter/reliever. So he has, other than 2024, he has not put up a usable amount of innings. But the skill there is there, right, Bubba?
Skills are great. The injury is weird. It was like a shoulder, neck, slept on the wrong mattress. It's like his bizarre world last season. To me, it's his age and what people are going to pay him for. If he's healthy, he's throwing 170 plus innings again. It's just a matter if you believe in the health. And I'm still, I don't know, because we really never saw anything. When he came back last year, he looked horrible for like a start or two and went back on the IL. So I'm probably just out on him. But to Billy's point, at the price point, the skills are great. Like if he does pitch healthy, he's a steal at that price. Like he's probably Dylan Cease-like, and you're getting him much later.
Okay. Not Dylan Cease-like, someone whose strikeouts really fell off last year, Zach Gallen, who has had good outputs in innings more so than Michael King, but kind of was not the Zach Gallen that we loved last year. Bubba, Zach Gallen, is there a spot he lands that you like him? Is there are you worried about the fall in strikeouts last year?
Fallen strikeouts are always a concern as you get older. This means you weren't fooling anybody. Now, he looked better in the second half. We saw the strikeouts kind of bounce back up in the second half, which was a positive. Outside of like your normal Sacramento's, Colorado's of the world, I'm not really worried about the landing spot for him. I think he's gonna go somewhere, which is a good team. And again, he's coming in really cheap. Like I haven't really looked at a lot of ADP, but as Billy is saying here with liking late pitching, like I don't see why you wouldn't like a Zach Gallen at that price point. Like you could do much worse.
Okay, we have two pitchers up next of different things, both about at 168. Ranger Suarez to me fits in that Zach Gallen mode. That I think where he goes is he's going to be good, and we've seen good strikeout upside from him. But the other one I want to talk about at 168.2 is Tatsuya Imai, who's posted from Japan this year. I've done just some, minor watching of some of the YouTube videos of people breaking down him, and he, his history is he came in young into the league there in Japan and had a huge walk issue, but the last 5 years leading up to this year, he's cut it down. This year it was like 7%, and he basically fixed that problem, which was kind of always his knock over there in Japan. He's certainly not. It doesn't seem like he's going to come in and be a Yoshinobu Yamamoto, but people are talking him more along the Kurai Senga like first season type potential. I don't know, Bubba, if you've gotten deep into these postings, but did I miss anything that you know about him coming over?
No, you nailed most of it. He's a young, I don't know if phenom's the right word, but there's a lot of hype train due to the development you mentioned. Shameless plug on Thursdays, Bubba and the Bloom. We're having the HQ expert on for the Asian folks.
Oh,
he was on our show last year. Like he said that no, the bar wasn't high, but he said Sagano would be better than Sasaki in year one, and in theory he was. So we're definitely going to dig in on all those guys, because I'm not well versed on that side of the world, but I kind of hear what you hear as well. So very intriguing, but I usually am just tepid, and with all these first timers over here, I kind of let them get their feet wet. Is the way I look at it.
Yeah, and there's always the concern with them going from the full or the 6 days rest to 5 days rest, and how
Exactly.
their body handles that. But there's certainly some upside there. And then the next player is another Japanese player, Munetaka Murakami. He is at 175.7. He is an infielder on Underdog. Billy, I guess I'm kind of switching here, but I'll ask, do you have much info on him, or what do you know about him?
I do know that like the real concern is like the swing and miss. He can and this is like, talk about Michael Tolia scares, like like this is the profile that I'm like scared right now about, because like if he can't hit the ball, it doesn't matter how far that he can hit it, especially as the pitching quality improves and the scouting improves and the environment that he has to play in. So I'm curious. I think with all these players, I'm very curious. He's in the prime age and like seems to have fixed the issues. Murakami, I'm not that issue is worrying to me, but like also what is the ceiling? The ceiling case is like, is it Nick Kurtz? Like potentially like that kind of home run power, 30 home runs ish. So intrigued but scared.
He's a late infielder, so that helps because there's a million of them.
Yeah.
But yes, it's very very curious that I'm glad you mentioned the swing and miss because it's very real. If it's happening nearly a 30% K rate in Japan, it doesn't translate usually very well at first in the bigs.
Yeah, I've been grabbing him because he is, we're swapping here. All the things I said against Toglia last year, Billy, I'm gonna say I'm just gonna look at the positives on Murakami. But right now at 175, as a fifth or sixth or even fourth infielder, I'm happy doing it right now. I don't know how far I'm gonna chase him up because we didn't mention it, but basically without fail, anytime one of these free agents signs, their ADP is going to go up, whether it's a good landing spot or not. Just the psychology of people, it's going to go up. So I don't know how far I'm going to chase him, but I'm grabbing him right now. So we talked about Adolis Garcia. Next up, we have a pitcher who turned out to be really important last year. One of the best advanced rate pitchers on Underdog. Merrill Kelly is at 205. He is without a home. I think I saw that Arizona did say they wouldn't mind bringing him back over Zach Gallen. That they preferred that. Obviously, a lot cheaper, so that makes sense on a team that's still not probably not going to be super competitive. I guess Billy, Merrill Kelly, are you in this year based on how important he was last year, or is can we expect that kind of volume, or what do you think?
I don't know why you would think that the volume's not going to be there. But then when I'm thinking about how I'm going to draft it at that point, he's picked 200 at that point, and then forward or later, there's so many pitchers list that are going to go run, potentially throw as many innings as him. I would like to be pretty diverse, especially with the player pool that's not drafted. But I don't see why you wouldn't think the volume's going to be there.
Yeah, I'm with you. The volume should be there. The only concern, dude's 37, but I don't see why it would be an issue. Strikeouts are down, but again, past pick 200. That's pretty sweet.
And they were never really.
Yeah, they're never released
too high.
Good point. Good point.
Speaking of low strikeouts, the next one, Luis Arias, 224, a guy who is, when people talk about how MLB doesn't respect average, you can see just how true that is based on how nobody ever signs him long term. He's always traded. He's kind of moving around as a piece that people just kind of a roster spackle type thing. Not a great defender. I'm out. I don't know if anybody has any spot where Luis Arias could land that they'd want him.
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. This guy, 235.8, Willie Castro, who is an outfielder, although he plays all over the field. To me, I could take some stabs at him. He is a sort of guy who's going to fill in at a lot of positions. If he lands on a team that does not have a deep infield or outfield pool, I can see him getting a lot of reps at all over the fields at not a terrible bet at that.
Yeah, team dependent for sure. The fact he's outfield eligible is tremendous. So I could see the late outfielder 6 or 7 on your roster.
Okay, and the let's see, the other big hitting guy coming over from Japan, Kazuma Okamoto. He is an infielder at 236.6 right now. He is not one I've seen too much hype on or anything, so I don't know if either of you have anything on him. And maybe the answer is to turn to your show, Bubba, when you talk to the baseball forecaster, overseas expert.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Like, this guy just seems like he's got a more structured hit tool than your Murakami. Like, he might have the power, but much better approach at the plate. So if we're looking for an accumulator of points, this might be the guy. Actually, like might not have the ceiling that a Murakami could have, but also has a much safer floor. Be my 2 cents.
Okay. And that takes us to the end of players with ADP. So I'm just gonna read off some names here, and if you want to interrupt me, go ahead, and I'll leave a space here on some names. We'll start with pitchers without an ADP right now. Most of these guys are guys that are either older or most of them are older. Most of them have put up innings in the past, so I'll just go here. We got Chris Bassett and Lucas Giolito, Zach Eflin, Max Scherzer, Dustin May, Justin Verlander, Nick Martinez, Aaron Savale, Patrick Corbin. Surprise, interesting name last year. He didn't really put up good underdog score, but it was just funny to me how he was always stacked against in DFS, and last year he just kind of was there and did all right. Jose Quintana, Miles Mikolas, Adrian Hauser, John Gray, Martin Perez. I'm going faster because nobody's interrupting me. John Means, Herman Marquez, Marcus Stroman, Sugano, you mentioned, again, who was okay for the Orioles, but did not put up underdog points. Walker Buehler, Andrew Heaney, Chris Paddock, Charlie Morton. I guess the biggest one there that I'm interested to get more details on is if anybody thinks there is a starting pitcher in Walker Buehler anymore.
Oof. Well, the answer is probably, but I think a lot of it is between his ears. Personally, I think when you heard him talking and stuff towards the end of his time in Boston, he was fighting some demons. It was a bad deal. Like sure, things, maybe there's mechanical issues or whatever, but the confidence was gone. And if you have no confidence when you're taking that ball, you're already screwed. So there's got to be a skill set there. Where is it? I don't know. So I'll let Billy answer anything there, but I have a different pitcher I'd like to discuss.
No, nothing to add.
No.
Chris Bassett's the one that entertains me.
Okay.
He went to the pen late for the Jays, but we obviously saw who the Jays brought in, and that checks out. Bassett will sign somewhere. The Giants are rumored. I would love him to be the 4th or 5th in the Giants rotation. I think that would be phenomenal. Bassett can eat up innings. Bassett can limit his ratios, which will translate. He could be a quality start machine, and he's not even getting drafted right now. Strikeouts aren't elite, but when you're talking about your last pitcher off the board, out of that list there, Chris Bassett intrigues me a lot.
Yeah. Okay. I'm happy with that. I could do that. I guess it does. Yes. Giants would being a great pitching park. That would be an awesome landing spot. All right. Did you have any other pitcher, Billy?
Nope, not really.
Okay. Yeah.
This is the section in the draft where I need to figure out who's actually going to get innings.
Yeah, and
I don't know.
There are other guys without ADP that have teams. Don't forget that if you're listening. This isn't just all the pitchers. This is the free agents. So there's definitely a profile of the type of pitcher right now that is hanging around the league and getting jobs and putting in innings here and there and just not fantasy relevant. So that's kind of that group to me. But maybe not Chris Bassett.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Infielders without an ADP that are free agents that I kind of picked out as interesting. Ha-Sung Kim, Paul Goldschmidt, Ryan O'Hearn, Rhys Hoskins, and Thairo Estrada.
I like Kim a lot. I hope he signs somewhere that gets to play. I was bummed when the Braves let him go. I was pretty excited about that potential there, but he's had the injuries. I think there's still a lot to like. There's still a power speed tool there, and he could be a nice late one.
Yeah, and he can play a few different positions depending on where a team might need him to. So yeah, it's sad to say, but I think I bought into Paul Goldschmidt last year, but I think I think the age has finally caught up to him. But as I always say, he's always my touchstone, or he has been always my touchstone because he's like a month different from my age. So he's always saying that he's getting older makes me feel much older. All right, a couple of outfielders with no ADP. Two at the top here that were interesting to me just looking at their output last year. Mike Yastrzemski put up a 1,000-point outfield season last year, and Harrison Bader put up a 992-point outfield season last year. Two guys that kind of get their separate ways, but they're both interesting to me. Bader seems like is more likely to end up on a team as without the platoon. And Yastrzemski is definitely more of a platoon bat. But anything on those two guys? Are they interesting to you too, or am I off base there?
I like Bader. He's going to sign somewhere and probably play. So he'd be a guy I'd be interested in. Yaz is strictly a platoon guy. Obviously, that worked out. But I do like the Bader one. Kepler's a platoon guy, but he also could be pretty nice as well as a late outfield dart, as you've mentioned before. Outfielders are extremely necessary. But out of this whole list, Bader is a guy I could see picking up a lot of at-bats.
Okay. The other guys on the list without an ADP, Tommy Pham, Max Kepler, JJ Bleday, Michael Conforto, and Christopher Morel were just sort of the names I picked out. The first two stood out to me because of their previous output last year. I think Pham's going to get a role again. Kepler, yeah, I think all these guys, maybe Michael Conforto might be done, but all these guys will have roles.
Well, I could see Morel playing in like Japan and hitting 45 home runs.
Unfortunately, that doesn't count. But...
I know. That's why I'm scared to draft Morel. Like I had a lot of shares last year. I was especially that ballpark for Tampa Bay. The fact they just let him go and he's still super young. It feels like it's one of those. Yeah, let's go fix a few things and come back. We see that a lot, and he's just got the power that he can strike out 120 times and still be a success over there.
Okay, excellent. The list I did not make after this is the list of pitchers coming back from injury. Billy, maybe we can put that on the list of subjects to talk about in the future and kind of timelines. But that's another interesting place if you're looking at players that aren't being drafted right now to look at some of those injury timelines. So yeah, that's hopefully, if you haven't been paying attention totally to baseball, a list and some food for thought on where to start on free agents and some of the news. And like I said, by the time this comes out, some of these guys might have landing spots. But
also, I just want to note, so like on the Bubba and Bloom pod, they went through every position. What happened last year? I listened to them. Like it's a different perspective, right? But because it is a roto perspective. So, but you have to listen for best ball. But if you're wanting to translate it to that, but if you didn't even pay attention to last season, which at times I didn't, it's a great way to catch up on like the who did well and who did poor. So I would recommend that as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, so that is it. Thanks again, Bubba, for joining us. We appreciate you coming on here. And we appreciate your love for the underdog game too, even though if you don't always get to draft as many as I know you want to. But
so bummed last year. I filled up way faster. I thought I got it all planned out. I was like, okay, I'm gonna sit here like on Saturday night because I have no kids this week. Like we're good, and they all feel like on Friday. I'm like, oh, so yes, that was a killer.
Yeah. All right, so that is the show tonight. Thank you for joining. Thank you everyone that's signed up for the YouTube membership, and we appreciate everyone all out there. So for Billy and myself, have a good night.